The Dallas Cowboys season seemingly over. They dropped to 3-5. Dak Prescott injured in the game, hamstring injury. What could be next in the Cowboys drama-filled season? We'll talk about that, and I'll do Week 10 NFL picks coming up on this episode of Play by Play. Welcome to this episode of Play by Play presented by Win or Lose Sports. Visit us online at winorloseshow.com and on all social media at Win or Lose Show. This episode, we're talking about Week 10 of the NFL. We got Thursday night game is tonight, is Baltimore and Cincinnati. We'll talk about those games, and we'll, of course, talk about the Cowboys going into Week 10 at 3-5, losing last week, which a game that I thought would be a little more competitive. I mean, the score doesn't indicate how the Cowboys lost in this game. Obviously, the score was 21-27 in favor of the Atlanta Falcons. But it's just the play-by-play of the Cowboys and how unenthusiastic they look on the field. We're talking about Dak Prescott, his injury, hamstring injury, which a lot of people didn't think it was a real injury, but obviously it's a real injury. If you look at the video, him throwing the ball, feeling like something was hurting him in the back of his leg, a hamstring. I'm not. He didn't give up on the team. He had an injury. He had an injury, and I'm sure that's not his intention to give up on this team. Of course, signing a $240 million, $60 million a year contract would put him under a lot of pressure as the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. But there's just a lot going on with this team. There were stories about Ezekiel Elliott not showing up for practice or showing up late for practice and not really engaged in the team activities. Of course, you got people on defense that's hurt, Micah Parsons mainly, and Marcus Lawrence. So there's a lot going on with the Cowboys. There's questionings about Mike McCarthy and Mike Zimmer and their jobs. When Dan Quinn left last year for the Washington Commanders head coaching job, a lot of Cowboys fans were disappointed, which rightfully so. Dan Quinn was the reason why this defense played the way they played over the last few years. The schemes and the packages that he put on the field to make, even though we weren't that good at stopping the run back then, but the way that he packaged the team and the way they rushed the quarterback and got into the backfield and the way the DBs were playing, like, you had to run the ball. But for some reason, Dan Quinn had this team able to win games and stop the opposite team without having to stop the run. However he did it. Whatever schemes and plays that he put on the field and the player packages that he put on the field, it worked. Mike Zimmer coming in, and the question he was asked is, like, are the players not buying into the system that you put in place? And he said, I don't know. You have to ask the players. Which is funny to me because as a coach, you should know what the players are buying into, or what are they not buying into? What do they need help with? It seems that it's like there's a communication barrier somewhere, or there's not something not connecting. Something is not connecting with the Cowboys team as a whole, and that starts with ownership. I mean, you're bringing up what happened in the offseason with Derrick Henry not being signed, and we're not signing players that should have been signed, and it's just with Jerry Jones, who thinks he's the best man for the job. Jerry Jones, who thinks that no one else can run this organization like he can. I'm sure there's no one else that can run this organization like he can, because there's a lot of people that will do a lot better job than what he's doing right now. And it's disappointing. I say this every week. And it's not because they're losing. It's because this has been going on for 30 years. It's disappointing that he can't see that the moves that he's making and the decisions that he's making for this team is not conducive to the team winning football games, playoff games, or making it to the Super Bowl. So, as a businessman, as a smart man, you would think that he will realize that what he's doing is not beneficial and make a move to bring in a GM, some kind of player development system, or man or guy, whoever, someone to make sure that this team is running on all faculties, because it's not. And then you look at Mike McCarthy, whose offense is elementary at best. And I've been saying this since Mike McCarthy got here, that the offensive play calling, offensive system that he has in place is trash. It's just horrible. I've never seen someone go back to doing the same bogus play calling after losing and think that this is going to work. This is going to help them win football games. It's not. It's not going to help them win anything. It's not Dak Prescott's fault that he can't find open receivers. It's not CeeDee Lamb's fault that he can't get open in the field, because he's fast enough, he's strong enough to do this. But the play calling, the plays that they're calling, and the schemes on offensively that Mike McCarthy has in place, it's horrible. It's too crowded. Receivers can't get open. And they're not scoring points like they did when Kellen Moore was offensive coordinator and calling plays. See the difference? When Kellen Moore was calling plays, I know we were scoring tons of points, which is what we want, because we cannot stop the run. So this was Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore coming up with something to make this team win. So you have to factor in, okay, we can't stop the run. We can't run the ball, really, so we got to throw the ball downfield. We have a quarterback who can throw the ball. We have receivers that can go down and get it. Let's draw up something where there's spacing to where there's underneath for H-backs and tight ends. We have slot receivers who can run downfield or run a flat. Or we have our main guy who can run downfield, run a slant, run a flat, run a comeback, but we have to make room for that to happen. And Mike McCarthy cannot understand that for whatever reason. As a professional football coach, he's not doing that. That's frustrating. That's very frustrating to watch this team fall apart and basically fold like they are giving up. And I know it's not the players that are giving up. And a lot of people are saying that, it's up to the players that are on the field to make something happen, to actually go out and win football games. But that's true. But if you don't have the motivation, the discipline, if you don't have the culture around you to say, let's go out and win. And Jerry Jones can preach this all day, like, oh, we want to win Super Bowls. We want to win this. We want to win that. You can want to win anything you want to win. You can want anything that you want. But if you don't have the pieces in place for that to happen, it's not going to happen, Jerry. Mike McCarthy is not the guy for the job for this Cowboys team. You need somebody who's a motivator, who's a disciplinarian, and who can focus on building a better offensive system because that offense is absolutely garbage. I don't know what's up with Mike Zimmer and his defense. He was supposedly a good defensive coordinator or defensive coach throughout his years of coaching, but this is not showing it at all. This is showing that, like, okay, we're going to keep doing the same thing until we figure it out. And that's not how football works. Because you're doing something that's non-progressive and everyone's doing the same thing to you from week 2 to week 10. When we made the New Orleans Saints look like a juggernaut by the way they ran the football against us. We thought New Orleans Saints was going to be one of the best teams in football. Guess how many games they won? 2. One of those games against us. The first game was against Carolina. So that's nothing. We made them look like they were a Super Bowl contending football team by the way they ran the ball against us, by the way they scored against us with David Carr as quarterback and Alvin Kamara in the backfield. Those are 2 great players, but what else is there? Like, Dallas is a better team than that. We have a better personnel than a lot of teams that are winning football games. So it's not just about the players on the field. It's about the coaching and the culture around the team that affects winning. And anybody in coaching and anybody in sports, anybody that's a part of a team should know this. That it's not just about how good your players are. Because when you look at some of the greatest teams in NBA that didn't win championships, they had the personnel, but they didn't have a winning combination, winning formula to win games, to win basketball games, to win football games. They didn't have it. You can trade and free agency and draft the best players in the world, but if you don't have somebody ahead of that organization or ahead of that team coaching them and motivating them and giving them lines of discipline, they're not going to win. I'm sorry. That's just not how sports work. That's not how team works. There has to be some kind of leadership on the floor, on the field, or on the floor, wherever you playing at, to say, okay, this is what needs to happen. This is what we're going to do, and this is what we need to do to win. If you're not preaching that, it's not going to happen. Sorry, Cowboys. And as a Cowboys fan, it's disappointing to see the way they've been playing. It's frustrating. They dropped to 3-5 when you expected this team to win at least 10 games this year. And that's not going to happen with 8 more weeks to go after this week. So 9 more games to go. There's just no offensive rhythm. There's no stopping the ball on defense. You're not creating turnovers. I think the turnover ratio is -8. So you're not creating turnovers on the defense, and you're creating more turnovers on offense. That's not a winning formula in the NFL or any level of football. So I'm actually tired of talking about the Cowboys because I expected this year for the Cowboys to be a better team than what they are, and they're not. I've watched more Pittsburgh Steelers football games than I've done Cowboys games, just because of how you look at the Steelers football team. They have 2 ready to go football running backs, and Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. You have a receiver who can go out and get the ball no matter where you throw the ball, and Pickens. I mean, we have that too, and CeeDee Lamb. You have 2 ready to go quarterbacks, and when you started Justin Fields, who went 4-2, which is great, not bad at all, to start the season at 4-2, and he played great. He played better than he's ever played in the last 2 years in Chicago. Then you have Russell Wilson, who's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. But you see what the Steelers did there? They didn't just get somebody that they needed in Russell Wilson. They went and got Justin Fields as well, because they know that anything can happen in football. So we need not just to say, okay, we're going all in, and the team that we have on the field and in the locker room is fine. We can win with this team. We just need to get motivated. No. Let's go out and get players and add value to what we already have. Because if you believe in the team that you have, and you believe that team is good enough to make it farther than what you did in the years past, to what we have, I'm still going to add to what we have, because I'm adding value, which makes our team even better than what I thought we could be. So, not that I'm a Steelers fan, but I've watched them because of the way they operate. They're operating their football team, the way that they coach their football team by Mike Tomlin. And then they add a great offensive coordinator who was the former coach of the Atlanta Falcons last year in Smith. So, yeah, I mean, you have to watch by example and figure out, what are we doing wrong? What are they doing right that we're not doing? What are we doing wrong? So we can figure out, fix it, and move forward. Anyway, so I'm doing this week's picks. I haven't done weekly pick 'em, and I've been doing it on online, but not doing it on the podcast. So we're gonna do weekly pick 'em for week 10, and then we're gonna end the episode. So thanks everybody for watching. I appreciate the support. We'll have more episodes with more guests coming up soon. Continue to watch and continue to support what we're doing here at Win or Lose Sports. We got a lot of new stuff going on, so we'll talk about it later. So week 10, this Thursday night game is Cincinnati going into Baltimore. Of course, I'm taking Baltimore in this game, just because I believe that Cincinnati's defense is not. They're a decent defense, but Baltimore's offensive threat of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that combination right there is special. And I think the Baltimore Ravens will win this game. I'm going 35-14 because Baltimore's I don't think Cincinnati's run defense is good enough to stop the Baltimore juggernaut offense. So going into Sunday's games, I got the Giants over the Carolina Panthers. In that game, the next game is New England going into Chicago. I got Chicago winning that game. Buffalo over the Indianapolis Colts. Minnesota, who started off on fire this year, undefeated, but ended up losing a couple games. But I still believe in Minnesota. So Minnesota over Jacksonville in Jacksonville. Kansas City, still undefeated. They'll remain undefeated. They added to their team as well. And that's what you're supposed to do as a football team, as a winning football team. So Kansas City over the Denver Broncos in that game. I got Atlanta going into New Orleans. I got Atlanta winning that game because New Orleans is not a good team. Not the team that we thought they were at the beginning of the year. I got San Francisco winning in Tampa Bay. San Francisco have struggled over the last few weeks, but I think they'll get their ish together, and Shanahan will have this team ready going into Tampa Bay to beat the Buccaneers. Washington and Pittsburgh. I think this is the game of the week because both of these teams are actually playing phenomenal at right now. Pittsburgh, who's a great defensive team, but the firepower of that Washington offense and their defense, led by Dan Quinn, like I talked about his crazy defensive schemes earlier in the podcast. I got Washington winning this game, and I think it's going to be one of the best games of the week. The Chargers over the Tennessee Titans. I got the Arizona Cardinals beating the Jets. Philadelphia going into Dallas. I just don't think that Cooper Rush and the Dallas offense I'm not sure if CeeDee Lamb is playing. I think he is playing, but if he's not, if he's on the field or not, I still got Philadelphia winning this game because I just don't believe that Dallas has enough talent right now on the field, defensively or offense, with Dak out. The best Dak and CeeDee Lamb, the best offensive players on this team, not available. I got Philadelphia winning this. Sorry, Dallas Cowboys fans. Detroit Lions, going into Houston. Another great game because Houston is still one of the best teams in the AFC to me. Detroit, obviously the best team in the NFC. Headed for Super Bowl, maybe. Detroit Lions at 7-1. Detroit, Dan Campbell has his team prepared every week, and what they're doing is making the doubters look dumb. Everybody doubted the Detroit Lions just because of the history of the Lions. I mean, they haven't done anything really. They haven't won a Super Bowl, barely many playoff games at all. So I think this is the year of the Lions. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions and the Ravens are in the Super Bowl this year. I know Kansas City is undefeated, but I'm still believing in the Baltimore run offense and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So Monday night game is the Rams and the Miami Dolphins. This to me is a mediocre type of game. I thought the Rams would be better than what they are right now. I don't know if it's injuries that are kind of hindering their season right now. But in Miami is the same way. Like with the injury to the quarterback early in this year with the concussion, Tunga Vailoa, it's just like they're not where they should be. But I think it'll still be a good game. I got the Rams winning this game in LA. So those are my picks for Week 10. Like I said, thanks for watching. We'll do more weekly pick'ems. I'm trying to steer away from talking about the Cowboys when I talk about football, just because this is not a happy year. And every episode I talk about the Cowboys is a mad, upsetting episode to myself and to other Cowboys fans, obviously, because we don't want to doubt our team or put down our team, but we're just not having a good year. So thanks for watching. Make sure you follow us on all social media at Win or Lose Show. Go to the website at winorloseshow.com, winorloseshow.com, and follow us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube at Win or Lose Show. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Play by Play.